Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to today's presentation on how human reasoning supports belief in God, focusing on Islamic and philosophical perspectives. Today, we'll explore the fascinating relationship between reasoning and the existence of God. We'll look at how logical thought and faith intertwine and support each other from different viewpoints. This is just the beginning, so I encourage you to stay engaged as we delve into these profound ideas. Let's get started. So let's start with the fact that the universe exists. It's a vast, incredible place, and its very existence raises some fundamental questions. How did it come to be? Why is there something rather than nothing? These questions are at the heart of exploring our universe. Now, within this universe, we observe order, laws, and remarkable complexity. From the way planets orbit stars to the intricate natural laws that govern everything, there's a sense of underlying structure and pattern. This order isn't random. It suggests that there might be some kind of purposeful design, or at least some consistent principles at work. And building on that, we see that life and consciousness have appeared within this universe, and they seem to serve a purpose. Life isn't just happening randomly. It appears to have some direction or intent behind it. Consciousness allows us to observe, reflect, and seek understanding, which adds another layer to this purposeful appearance. All of these points, existence, order, complexity, purposeful life, and consciousness, are what we start collecting evidence for. The first step in this journey of understanding is observation. Observing the universe around us, looking at the stars, the natural phenomena, the intricate biological systems, these are crucial. Observation is the foundation that guides us in exploring these big questions and helps us piece together the story of our universe. Now, let's delve into how we use observations to form arguments. One approach is the cosmological argument, which looks at the universe as evidence of a first cause or necessary being. It starts from the fact that everything that begins to exist has a cause, so the universe must have a cause too, which we often identify as God. Next, we have the teleological argument, also known as the argument from design. This one points to the complexity and order in nature, suggesting that such intricate design implies a designer, again, often understood as God. It's about seeing purpose and intention behind the natural world. Then there's the ontological argument, which is a bit more abstract. It's based on the very concept of a greatest being. If we can conceive of such a being, then it must exist, because existing in reality is greater than existing only in the mind. All these arguments rely heavily on logical reasoning, carefully examining observations and drawing conclusions. They're central to the overall theme of how we can use reason and evidence to explore profound questions about existence and the divine. All right, let's unpack this slide. First, it states that everything that begins to exist has a cause. This is a fundamental principle, often called the principle of sufficient reason, which suggests that nothing just pops into existence without a reason or cause behind it. Next, we consider the universe itself. According to the scientific and philosophical consensus, the universe began to exist at a certain point in time. This means it's not eternal, it had a beginning. So if the universe began to exist, then logically it must have a cause. This leads us to the key conclusion. There must be a first cause, something that itself was not caused by anything else. And this first cause is what many identify as God, an uncaused, eternal being. It's uncaused because it itself did not have a beginning, and eternal because it exists outside of time and space. This argument, known as the cosmological argument, is a way to reason from the existence of the universe back to the necessity of a first, uncaused cause, something that set everything else into motion. Throughout our discussion, remember that this points us toward a logical foundation for understanding why there is something rather than nothing, and how the concept of God fits into that reasoning. Let's take a closer look at what the universe reveals. As we observe the cosmos, it becomes clear that it displays a remarkable design and order. This isn't just random chaos. There's an underlying pattern and structure that suggests purpose. When we see complex systems, like the intricate workings of the human body or the precise movements of celestial bodies, they often appear to be purposeful. It's as if they were created with intention. This idea leads us to a significant conclusion. If such purposeful design exists, it implies the presence of a designer. In other words, the complexity and order we observe point to the existence of a creator. This is the core idea behind what's called the teleological argument, or the argument from design. So, in essence, the universe's appearance of purpose and order strongly suggests that a creator exists. It's a compelling way to understand the universe not as a product of random chance, but as something intentionally designed. So on this slide, we're exploring the idea that God is the most perfect being. This means that, in a sense, God embodies the highest form of perfection imaginable. Now, one key point here is that existence itself is considered a form of perfection. In other words, to exist is to possess a certain fullness or completeness that non-existence simply can't have. From this, we draw the conclusion that if God is the most perfect being, then God must exist, because existing is part of being perfect. This reasoning is purely conceptual. It's based entirely on the ideas and definitions we're working with, not on empirical evidence. This is what's called the ontological argument. It's a philosophical argument for God's existence that hinges on the nature of the concept itself. It shows how, through careful reasoning about what perfection means, we can arrive at the conclusion that God's existence is logically necessary. So, at its core, this argument is about how we can use pure reason, just ideas and definitions, to understand and demonstrate the existence of God, fitting into our broader theme of exploring different ways we can approach questions about the divine. Let's take a moment to reflect critically on these fundamental questions. First, could the universe exist without a cause? This invites us to think about whether everything that exists needs a reason behind its existence, or if some things might simply be uncaused. Next, we ask, could order and complexity happen by chance? This is about whether the intricate structure of the universe could have come about randomly, or if there's a deeper purpose or design. Lastly, are there alternative explanations beyond what we're considering? Are there other ways to understand the origins and nature of the universe? All of these questions push us toward rational reflection, using our reasoning and critical evaluation, what we call letter 2BF a QL, to explore the most plausible answers. By engaging with these points thoughtfully, we deepen our understanding and connect them to the broader theme of seeking truth through rational inquiry. Let's explore the logical demonstrations that support our understanding of the necessity of a creator. First, we have the Ilm al-Kalam arguments, which are philosophical and theological proofs that have been developed over centuries. These arguments aim to show that everything contingent, meaning everything that could possibly not exist, must ultimately depend on a necessary being. This brings us to the core idea. Contingent things cannot exist without a cause, and this cause must be necessary, something that exists by its very nature and doesn't depend on anything else. When we trace back the chain of contingent existences, we arrive at one necessary being that sustains and causes everything else. This is crucial because it helps us understand why the existence of the universe points to a single, necessary being, what we call the creator. It's not just an abstract philosophical idea. It provides a rational basis for believing in a divine origin and understanding the universe's purpose and order. So, through these rational proofs, we see how the necessity of the creator emerges from logical reasoning, helping us connect the dots between the contingent world we observe and the necessary being that underpins it all. So, what we're looking at here is that this kind of reasoning leads us to a justified belief rather than absolute certainty. It's important to understand that this isn't about having irrefutable empirical proof, like a scientific experiment might provide. Instead, what we're talking about is a strong rational support for the existence of God. This means that, based on the evidence and reasoning we've discussed throughout the presentation, belief in God is well-founded and reasonable. And in the context of our overall exploration, it shows that faith can be supported by rational considerations, even if it doesn't meet the strict standards of absolute proof. This is a key point because it bridges the gap between faith and reason, emphasizing that belief can be rationally justified without being infallible. Let's reflect on the Quran's invitation to observe and think. The Quran encourages us to use our reason, or letter 2bf alongside divine revelation, or wahi, to understand the world and our purpose. For example, in Quran 50:6, there's a verse that invites us to look at the sky and ponder its vastness and intricacy. This isn't just about physical observation. It's about engaging our minds and hearts to recognize the signs of Allah's creation. From an Islamic perspective, this combination of reason and revelation helps us develop a deeper appreciation and understanding of our faith. It reminds us that faith is not blind, but connected to reflection and intellectual engagement. This approach aligns with the overall theme of seeking knowledge and understanding as a path to strengthening our relationship with Allah. All right, so on this final slide, I want to walk you through the overall flow of how we approach reasoning and belief formation. It all starts with an observation. That's where we notice something, any kind of data or experience that catches our attention. From there, we move into reasoning, where we start to connect the dots and interpret what that observation might mean. Next comes the evaluation stage, where we critically assess our reasoning, questioning assumptions, considering alternative explanations, and weighing evidence. Once we're confident in our reasoning, we gather proof, solid evidence or logical justification that supports our conclusions. Finally, all these steps lead us to a belief, what we accept as true based on the entire process. This flow, from observation to belief, highlights the logical, step-by-step way we build understanding. It's a continuous cycle that's essential for sound decision-making and critical thinking. This summary flow underscores how reasoning isn't just a random process. It's a structured path that guides us from initial data to firmly held beliefs, connecting everything we've discussed throughout this presentation.